by 20-inch continuous concrete footing reinforced with two number 5 diameter continuous reinforcing bars. Okay, so that's the very first thing you need to do. Also, there is a dimension. You could go about maybe a foot from here, or 1'8", 1'9" for where the finished grade is. Now the finished grade, let me just move this over here. Somehow this got exploded. This is where the finished grade is going to be, and then you can put in 2 feet from the finished grade to the finished floor. Now the finished, then what you need to do is you need to start drawing in your block. Your block, it's 8 inches concrete block cemented with a bed of 1/2 inch mortar joint. These are 1/2 inches. So every square that you see here, it's 8 by 8 plus you could go maybe about 1/2 inch mortar joint. This is your mortar joint right here. And then you could fill it in the block with dots, which is your poured concrete. Okay? And then on the outside of the wall, you have a 5/8 of an inch stucco finish. On the inside, you have R5 wall insulation, which is you could have the space here 3/4 of an inch. So the first layer that you see here is 3/4 of an inch, and the second layer is 5/8 of an inch. The fairing strips, these are your fairing strips here, 3/4 of an inch, and then your finish drywall is 5/8 of an inch Typex, which is the second layer, and that's the inside. For your baseboard, you could draw a 1x4 baseboard, and then your ceramic tile, just put another line. That's going to be your ceramic tile. Usually it's going to be about, with mortar and everything, it's going to be about 1/2 inch. Okay? So far, so good? Anybody have questions on the lower part of the typical wall section?
Professor.
Yes.
How do you do the section cut, the cut up here, the little zigzag line?
Well, you could do it just by drawing a line.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem. For your clean compacted fill, which is clean dirt, all you have to do is put a spline. Let me see if I can get a spline here. Take the ortho off, draw the spline, make sure all your boundaries are close, so that when you bring the hatching, you could get the hatching of the symbol. I think this is earth, and then the squares that you see here, You could have these drawn at 12 inches by 12 inches. Okay, more or less. You could put a dimension. About 9 inches to 12 inches, okay? And then when you're done, take your spline off, just delete it, and then you have your hatching, okay? Don't forget to put the hatching for the concrete. This is a concrete floor. The floor is a 4-inch high concrete slab with a 6-inch by 6-inch 1010 welded wire mesh, which you could put a line in the middle. Okay, then right over here, right against here, you could put in a 1/2 inch expansion joint. Make sure you bring in your slab all the way to the block. And then your 1/2 inch expansion joint, what it does, it allows movement to occur between the floor and the block wall. Okay? Actually, you could put another hatching. You could put a hatching in here instead of a solid. Like this, you could put the hatching, let's see, 5, like this. Okay? And then at the bottom here, you need to put an extra line, 3 mil waterproof membrane. What it does, what you have to do is offset. Let's see. You can put another line.
Hey!
You could put another space, another line. That's your waterproof membrane, 3 mil, which means what the waterproof membrane does is that keeps the moisture within the concrete slab, so without breaking the slab, okay? All right, so that's the lower part of it. When you start drawing your typical wall section, it's a building and building from the bottom up. Okay, so let's talk about the upper half. Okay, now the upper half, you continue the block on the tie beam. Now the tie beam, it's what really holds the trusses, the roof. Now the tie beam, it's 8 inches by 12 inches high concrete tie beam with 4 number 5 continuous reinforcing bars. These are your reinforcing bars with 4 number 5 diameter continuous reinforcing bars and number 3 ties at 12 inches on center. So ties, what they do is that they put some ties here, they wrap it up, and then they pour the concrete, and that's your tie beam. Now on top of the tie beam, what you're gonna do is you're gonna put a 2x8 pressure treated wood seal plate anchored to tie beam with 1/2 inch anchored. So this is 1/2 inch anchored. Anchor bolts at 4 feet on center. Okay, so that's your seal plate. Now then you draw the bottom quarter of the truss. you know, where the insulation is. This is 9 inches high, R30 bad insulation. You could do this manually, just a little bit. You don't have to do the whole thing. Okay, this is a symbol for the insulation. Okay, now once you have this drawn, which is the bottom chord, now the bottom chord is supposed to be 4 inches, but then at a 3/4 of an inch, when you plot this, because this typical wall section is going to be plotted at 3/4 of an inch, any drawing that you draw 3/4 of an inch or bigger, your pieces of wood, they have to be actual size. Instead of 4 inches high, it's going to be 3.5. Let me see if I draw this as 3.5. That's too big. Okay, so that has to be 3.5, and then the top part of the truss, it's got to be 3.5, and then down to the fascia. Now the fascia board, the overhand, it's 2 feet. 2 feet to the edge of the plywood. This is where the plywood is. Now the plywood is supposed to be 5/8 of an inch. If you look at this note here, it's 5/8 of an inch plywood decking on top of the truss. Okay, which is that first space that you see here. You could use hatching. You could use, you know, anything that shows lines. All right, now the note for the trusses is a prefabricated wood trusses at 2 feet on center to be designed by the manufacturer. Now, the angle is the same angle for the elevation. Now, 3 feet. Okay, per every foot you go forward, which is 12 inches, you come down 3 inches, and then this is your angle. Now this angle here, what you could do is place this angle right on the trusses, because all these are going to be the same angle, all these materials. Okay, you see it's the same angle. Now, there is a dimension that I'm going to give you from the top of the steel plate to the bottom here, about 11.5 inches. Okay, and then you continue the wood here to meet the other one. Now here, you could put a straight line here, cut this up, and that's going to be a solid piece. Okay. So remember, 11.5 inches down from the steel plate, and then you got the trusses. Now here, you have a piece of wood here. The way to build the fascia board, okay? And before you get into this, you have to show some insulation here. 5/8 of an inch plywood decking, that's your first layer, and your second layer will be 1 inch rigid insulation. Okay. And then you show another space, another line for the 30-pound felt. Just another line you see here. So the first layer will be 5/8 of an inch plywood. Second layer will be 1 inch insulation. Third layer will be another line. This particular line, you could go about 1/2 inch is fine. Okay. Now the overhand, how do you draw the overhand? Okay, well, before you draw the fascia board, which is a 1x6 fascia board, you need to have a subfascia. A subfascia, what it does, a 1x, we call it 1x. You just offset 1 inch this way, which is 3/4 at actual size, same as a fascia board. This is supposed to be 3/4 by 5.5 down. What it does, the subfascia board, it creates a layer of wood so that they can nail this piece against it. Okay. And then after you bring that line, that extra line about 1/2 inch, that is your 30-pound felt. Then you got to show your metal. This is called metal drip, galvanized metal drip. You come down this way, down, cover a little bit, maybe, I don't know, 4 inches down, and then just return this a little bit of an angle. You could do that with your lines. Okay, but this dimension that you see here in red, that goes to the edge here of the plywood. Okay, so that is your 2 feet overhand. Okay, and that's basically the overhand of the building. So you got your 1x subfascia board, which is 3/4 of an inch. 1x6 is 3/4 of an inch by 5.5, and that's it. Make sure you bring your lip down so that at the bottom here you have a 1/2 inch T11 plywood. So this is 1/2 inch plywood. Okay, you could use this symbol for plywood. And then the space here, you need to have a 4 inch screen vent or a 6 inch screen vent. Doesn't matter whether it's 4 to 6, it's okay. Continuous soffit. Continuous with 6 inch screen vents, continuous soffit. Okay, now and then galvanized metal drip. The metal drip, what it does is that it covers this area from water going into your attic. Now, the shingles, you have 3D asphalt shingles over 30-pound felt. 30-pound felt is a black paper, tin tack. Tin tack means they have nails with a little round pieces of aluminum, galvanized aluminum, and that's it. That space, the 30-pound felt. Okay, the shingles, 3D means 3-dimensional, which they look really pretty. And the shingles, you could draw them at that's too big. You could draw them at I would say 18 inches, 1 foot, 1'6". This one is there too huge. Okay, what you could do is this perpendicular line. This is 1'8". No, 1'6". Let me see. Yeah. And what you could do is you could do this. Turning it over this way, and then do multiples of this configuration. And once you have a couple, then you could do multiples. Okay, so that will be, you could take it to the middle here and move on. Okay, because I think these are too long. 18 inches will be fine. I'm gonna put a dimension here so that you could do this. Okay, and then just bring this one just a little bit, not too much. Just a little bit of a lip in there. Okay, just like that. Okay, and then this is the overhand, the fascia board. Make sure you have 11.5 inches this way. Okay, down from the sill plate. Okay, so the first layer, 5/8 of an inch plywood. Second layer, 1 inch insulation, and then offset maybe 1/2 inch, another line there for the tin tag. And then this is your, your shingles, and then make sure you put this symbol, which represents the slope. We call it 3 to 12, and they know what it is. Okay. All right, and then make sure you put these dimensions: 2 feet overhand. Make sure at the bottom here, just write in and then your dimension. Your dimension is 6'10" to the top of the tie beam, okay? There you go. Six foot 10. Now, when you put a dimension, even though you have a break line here, you might have 8 feet. All you have to do is change, let's say, let me just do an example. From the finished concrete floor to the top of the tie beam, shows 24 feet, right? Okay, so you want to change it to 6'10". All you have to do is left click twice, right click, property, and then over here, right on the corner, find text override. Click where it says text override and put 6 feet, 10 inches. Close it out, and then it changes automatically. Okay. Okay, so that's the typical wall section. When you're done with this, all you have to do is just turn it over, highlight it from base point, Okay, and that'll be ready so that when you put it on the sheet, it will show like that. Now, going back to model space, remember you got this dimension 2 feet. Now, once you look at it on the sheet, make sure make sure that all the text, the dimension height. This is a sample, for example. This is wrong. This is not the same one that I worked on, but so you can see you can make mistakes. You need to have the dimension text height, the 2 feet, same as the height of the text. The dimension here, from the finished grade to the top of the floor of the concrete slab, they gotta be the same height. And also the overall dimension from the block to the top of the beam, okay? So don't make a mistake just by take a look at it, make sure that, see, there is another mistake here. You see all these notes? Okay, they're not the same height as the rest of them. So there is an inconsistency on this drawing, okay, because this is not the one I did, okay? Make sure that you check, make sure that all your text height and the dimension text height, they all have the same height, okay? Going back to model, let me show you. Let me rotate this drawing again. Now you can see this text height is the same. Well, this text height is the same as on the dimension text height. They're all the same as the rest of the text, okay? Except for these. If that happens, so all you have to do is match properties. You know, whatever text height it is. This is 6 inches. So if that's 6 inches, this got to be 6 inches as well. Okay? Same text height. And don't forget the title. The title, typical wall section, 3/4 of an inch equals 1 foot, because that's how you're gonna plot it.
How do we do the pavers?
The papers?
The pavers.
You mean this?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, like I said, you could, let's say this is the bottom side of this. You take the spline, take the ortho off, okay, that's the configuration that you want. You could accommodate the spline, whichever, you know, configuration you want. And then you could go to hatching. I hope this is not, it's not gonna freeze on me, but on the hatching, there is earth, this one here. You click in there, make sure that your scale is, all these squares are about 12 more or less a foot, okay? 11 and a half inches. Okay, and then what you have to do is very carefully take the spline off, click on the spline and delete it. And then that's it. And then give it a color. Just solid it up and give it a create a layer. Let's see. You could create a layer earth, 8 earth, and pick up a, you know, like a brown color. Okay, that's how you do it. This is a symbol for clean dirt. Okay, clean compacted fill, like I did here. Let me see this one here. Let's see what layer do I have. A hedge soil. Okay, so that's my layer. A hedge soil. Okay? So that's how you do the typical wall section.
Professor, what's the width of the concrete?
4 inches. Concrete slab. That's a concrete floor. This is a 1/2 inch expansion joint. This is a 1x4 baseboard. Yeah. The first layer for the inside is 3/4. That's your pressure treated, I think it's over here, 1x2. Pressure treated, 1 inch becomes 3/4. So this is 3/4 and this is 5/8 of an inch drywall. And then you could paint it inside of the wall. Now the outside is the stucco. The stucco is a material and it's 5/8 of an inch. It's a material that withstands the humidity and the rain. Okay, it's a moisture material. It has a different, it has a different component. Okay, that I could teach you that whenever I teach construction methods and materials. All right. Any more questions? I'm open to your questions now.
So the typical. So what will be the width of the whole typical wall section?
What will be the width?
Yes.
Well, more or less, you know that this is 2 feet. You know that the wall is 8 inches.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the rest of it, I could tell you more or less. You don't have to take it that long in the width. You could cut it through here if you want. Let's see. You could cut it a little bit less. So you could go that from the tie beam to this line. You could go about 12 feet. About 12 feet, it's fine. Okay? 12 feet, if I extend this dimension to here, the total width is be about 19 feet 8, about 20 feet. Okay? About 20 feet wide. This is called the break line. This means that the typical wall section is to a scale, but the height varies. Even though you have a dimension here that you could adjust with the text override, but we put in section cuts. The reason why we put it is so that we don't have to we have, let's say we got limitations in printing, so we don't have to show the entire height, you know, for the wall. But if you want, another way to do it is just put the 6'10" from the concrete floor all the way to the top of the tie beam, and then forget about these brick lines and then continue the wall. Okay. Now on these walls, this is I think it's half an inch mortar. Okay, this square that you see, I'm gonna draw a square. From here to here, it should be 8 by 8. 8 inches by 8 inches, okay? That's your block. The dimension for the cell, these are 2 inches. Well, this is 6, I don't know why 6, but it's supposed to be 2 inches. So this is the right way to draw the block. Some people, what they do is they just show, hold on a second, they just show the wall, and then they show lines like this. But you do that on plan, you don't do that on a typical wall section. Okay? The correct way of drawing it is like this. Because the block, what they do in construction, the block is 8 inches, right? Then you got a half an inch mortar. The mortar is what stacks up the block together, one on top of each other. And then you got the cell. The cell is the thickness of the block, should be 2 inches. And then what they do is they fill in with reinforcement and concrete. That's why you get this dotting over here. Okay? The dotting could be hatch as well, so you could finish faster. You understand?
How do we do the installation?
Oh, the insulation? That's something that you're gonna have to do a pattern. Let's see, the way I do it, see what I do, I draw a circle, hold on a second, let me do multiples of this. Okay, and then from the center here, I put another circle. Okay, so from here down a line. Just give me 1 second, I'm trying to figure out this. Okay, if you put a line right here. Okay, from here a line. And then you stack up the circles. This is fun to do. Once you have a pattern, you could Okay, so you have this pattern here. What you could do is actually, the student version, I don't think it comes with this hatching. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. You would have to look into it. But what I do, okay, right. Once you have this, you can copy multiples.